Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Prevails, a Grand Arena story. Let it be known that today is the day I went full retard on defense in Grand Arena.
Everybody knows you never go full retard.
Huge shout out to my patrons, you guys rock. Thank you for all of the support. Alright, today is the first match of Group 2, so we've already faced 3 different opponents. I won last week despite 2 really tough rounds in a row. Beat a guy who went 20-0 up to our match, so that's pretty cool. And you can see my opponent is no slouch himself. On the bottom of this stat sheet here, you see that they made Qi'ra, and it's a decent rank. It's not a super elite one, but it's still decent. So looking at these stats here, my opponent has fewer relics, 7, but way more upper mid-range relics. So that, I would say we're pretty close to even. Honestly, like I don't think that either of us have a huge advantage in relics. My opponent does have better mods than me, and I do have a little bit more gear 13, which gear 13 is important. I also have about 20 more Zetas, which I don't really know how that factors in. Honestly, 20 seems like a lot though. In terms of overall success, my opponent has had quite a bit of success in Grand Arena. 189k lifetime banners, that's pretty close to 200. A little less success than me, but overall not someone I want to just take lightly. Now, after the really intense efficiency match that I had in round 3, I really wanted a change of pace, and so I decided to go complete opposite to what I normally do. Normally I save a lot for offense. This time I am setting a ton of defense, so I'm showing you guys my defenses first so you know I don't have all these teams available. This is nothing new. The Asajj and Skywalker are always on defense for me usually, and then I do have Geos and General Grievous and a weird Talzin squad, which those aren't any strangers. But then the real change here is I have both revans. Normally both revans are on offense. They're 2 of my strongest squads, period. They're on defense now, and that's happening. It makes my offense way less reliable and my defense hopefully a lot more reliable, so we'll see how that goes. So you guys know my buddy Hens. He's the one I just finished doing my Xaereth Gets Critical series on while he marched his way into Elite Qi'ra, so props to him. We were chatting recently and he told me he was waiting for the day that I fail, just like the time I melted down against General Skywalker, which was an embarrassing low point in my Grand Arena career. And he says he's going to enjoy it when I inevitably fail, so that's good of him. Always appreciate a good word from Hens, of course. I did scout my opponent's Grand Arena history, and they set the same defense every single time. And when it did vary, it was very, very, very slightly. So I did feel pretty confident taking a weaker offense in here, but a lot righted on this. I mean, if they did choose to change their defenses, I was going to be in a little bit of trouble potentially.
Taking an awful risk, Vader. This had better work.
At first glance, I saw that my opponent had basically the same defense set down, so that was great. The placements were a little bit different than Grand Arena history had indicated to me that I thought, but that was fine. Bounty Hunters with Nest and Geonosians, neither of them super high gear level, which was nice. And then this Death Zone is pretty rough though. General Grievous with Watt, with a ton of relics, Darth Revan with Badstila, and then full relic for nightsisters. And that zone was the one that was really messing with me the most. I needed to make sure that I could take some of these teams out. I had a very limited number of teams that I could use to be able to counter them, and so the biggest question in my mind going into this match was the one with First Order versus nightsisters. Now I'm taking First Order with Watt here, and the first move that I take is putting the taunting tech onto Kylo Ren. Now my First Order officer is super fast, And so even with these really fast Night Sisters, he was able to take first turn, which is a key element here. He handed first turn to original Kylo, who did his AoE, and got a ton of First Order guys turn meter so that they could all go before the Night Sisters, and that was important. Now, he did his AoE, and one thing I want you to watch is Night Sister's Spirit and her Foresight on her. You know, every time she takes a turn, she's generating Foresight, and we want to make sure that that's not on her because she hits way harder when she does have that. The other thing I want you to pay attention to is Zombie's turn meter. Now, every time I have First Order officers special to do, I am putting I'm trying to hit Night Sister Zombie because I want Zombie to take as few turns as possible. We don't want her building up her stacks of whatever it's called to resurrect and to go faster and all that. We don't want that. So you know, eventually Watt, well, not just eventually, early on, Watt was able to give the weapons tech to First Order Executioner, and Executioner then was, you know, he's able to kill Mother Talzin. She can't come back. She can't be revived. Zombie is futile here, except as a taunting tank, which, you know, that is pretty good too. And really, I mean, Watt is the one who makes this possible because of the weapons tech, which denies revives except for against Zombie. And, you know, we're just trying to kill each of the Night Sisters. Now, you know, one of the really important things here is, you know, my First Order is mostly just immune to the shenanigans that the Night Sisters can do. Like, Daka can stun Kylo Ren unmasked, and that doesn't really matter because First Order officer can cleanse it, Watt can cleanse it, so that's not a big deal. And otherwise, the Night Sisters, one of their greatest strengths is being able to revive. And so when you take that away from them, like they're just a lot, they're just in a worse place. And so we're really trying to, you know, we're trying to wipe them out one at a time here. You'll note that I didn't finish Spirit off with Kylo Ren, just because Kylo Ren wouldn't have been able to one-shot her and have her stay dead. Zombie would have revived her. It had to be from First Order Executioner. So she's dead. Old Daka normally is the first one you want to kill because she revives, but she can't revive anyone because they're permanently dead because of First Order Executioner. And 59 banners, that's pretty good considering I'm punching pretty high above my weight limit here. And you know, that was a big question mark. Spirit can just kill Kylo Ren unmasked at lower levels, you know, when she's at Relic 4 or higher, and I just wanted to make sure that I could get through that because I would have changed my matchups quite a bit. Now we have this Relic General Grievous squad with Watt, and it has a ton of relics, you know, Relic 7 on Grievous, and Watt is gear 12, which isn't the absolute best, but it's still way better than 6-star Watt. And so here what we're doing, we're taking Bastila, we're taking Emperor Palpatine, and we're just going to try to annihilate Grievous when we can. So we put Isolate onto whichever taunting tank that Watt put the taunting tech onto. And in this case it was Magna Guard. So we put Isolate on. He can't actually taunt even though he's got that tech. And now we're just trying to, you know, I got a stun off on Grievous, which is great. And now we're just trying to bide our time, trying to, you know, we don't want to kill anyone because Grievous will just dispel all of his debuffs and including stun, and get his AoE off, and it turns into a huge mess. We also don't want to be hitting Grievous because the second he dips below that protection line, then he will dispel all of his debuffs. He won't take an immediate turn, but he will dispel all of that, and he'll also put a forced taunt onto one of the droids, which we don't want because we eventually, the one that we want to kill is actually General Grievous himself. We want to annihilate. And so, you know, everything we're doing here is just the aim of, we don't want to kill anyone, we don't want to hurt Grievous too much, we want to put shock onto B2 so that when we're hitting other droids, B2 doesn't immediately get a turn, and we're just trying to spread the love. And, you know, One thing that is really amazing about having Bastila, I mean, it just makes it so easy in this match, is she does so many debuffs that whenever they expire, it feeds turn meter to the whole team, and the whole team just takes a ton of turns. Like, you can see, these droids have gotten almost no turns at all here, and, you know, that's just because my turn meter train is completely crazy. So, you know, just trying to kill B1 here, because B1 is the one who can do an AoE and ruin my banners, potentially. And I mean, my banners are mostly ruined anyways. You know, Scion can get his protection up to max with using his special, and everyone else just has to get lucky. I guess Bastila can recharge her protection as well. Everyone else has to get lucky and not be hit. They did not get that lucky. And so, you know, we're just keeping everyone stun locked, and, you know, I'm spreading the damage out. I don't really know why. May as well just finish one off at a time, but, I mean, it doesn't matter. We have plenty of time. We have plenty of, you know, resources. We're going to be able to win this going away. You know, and this is a really nice counter to General Grievous squads with Watt. I would say it's punching up. The only problem is you need Bastila here. There's a less certain version here with Thrawn instead of Bastila, and, you know, that works definitely, but it's a little more shaky. So 57 banners, pretty good. And this is so strange. I'm not used to clearing the top zone first. It goes against what I always do, but I need to make sure that I'm taking these tough squads out. I really only have a couple counters, and it's going to change every single thing I do if I fail one of these attacks. So now we have Padme jumping into a match with Darth Revan with Bastila. There's no Malak here though, so we'll see how this goes. And honestly, this is kind of the ideal match you want for Padme. I have a slow Padme, which means that Darth Revan goes, and a bunch of these other guys go. Bastila tries to do her debuff, and it does work. It goes off on everyone, but that it goes just in time for Padme to take her first turn. She is able to dispel all of that and turn all of that damage into stacks of bonus protection, which in turn, when everyone takes their turns now, these stacks of bonus protection are going to turn into courage. And I know that a lot of people tend to go for Bastila here, and maybe that's good, but she's not really that much of a threat here compared to the really crazy damage that HK can do to General Kenobi, who is taunting because he's a Jedi. He gets like double damage or something crazy against Jedi. I just like to kill K2, or I don't know why I said K2, HK first. So he's dead. Bastila did die pretty quick. The Sith trooper died incidentally, and eventually Darth Revan's left alone, and 59 banners is not bad at all. Much better than I assumed I was going to get 55, but I mean, I'll take it. Not going to complain. So cleared that zone. See an Akbar fleet in the back. Make sure that it's not actually Radis, which would have been bizarre, but it wasn't, unfortunately. And now we got to take down this front squad here. Unfortunately, I had to go to work after this. You can see what time I'd attacked, like right after the phase started. My opponent then did take a turn. They attacked. When I came back, they took out one zone, and then they went to work. So you know, and really that zone was no surprise. They dropped 13 banners here total against this Nute squad and my General Skywalker. So I won't lie, at this point I was feeling pretty good here. My opponent had already dropped a bunch of banners, and I'd already cleared the tough zone as I saw it. So you know, hopefully we don't see anything unforeseen in the back zone, and hopefully we can clear the front zone first, of course.
Your overconfidence is your weakness.
Your faith in your friends is yours.
Alright, so we need to clear this zone, of course. Geonosians are tricky. They only have a couple teams that can actually beat that. And then this Bounty Hunter Nest team is tricky. Nest is only gear 12, and she does have decent stats. She has a really high tenacity. It's well over 160, which is frustrating because I can't really daze her consistently from Death Trooper, but I do need to take troopers here. I have a few other counters, but I want to use them for the back. And troopers, if my scouting report was accurate, troopers, this is one of the few matches that troopers actually stood a chance in. And so, you know, we're just going about our business as usual. You know, I'm faster than all of these bounty hunters by about a mile, which I don't really know how you can be faster than someone by a unit of measurement describing a distance, but I just did, so bam. And now, you know, I was hoping that Bosk would just kind of live for longer. He's the only one who's relict. We don't want him to die because then we have to start shooting Nest, and Nest will start hitting back, and we don't want that because, you know, she'll start ramping up her damage. She's really slow. You know, Jango did speed her up a little bit, but not fast enough. So I'm just trying to. I probably should have done the buff. Oh, I did do it. You know, I did the buff here so that my critical damage would go up, and now I'm hoping I can just one-shot her because she has Terminate on. She took her turn. I did my AOE. I wasn't sure actually. That's something I should know. My perception was that my AOE did more damage than a regular hit, but that's probably false. I don't know. So, you know, clearly we're just shooting her. She's doing damage. It's not enjoyable. Did not do enough damage to her, and now she doesn't have Terminate on her, and everyone is dazed, and you know, this is turning into a fiasco pretty quick. You know, so we're just waiting for her to take a turn. She finally does, because she's actually similar speed to me now, because all my guys are dazed and not gaining turn meter. I did get Terminate off, but she's also, I can't land any debuffs on her because of her high tenacity. I don't have tenacity down on this squad, and Veers bit the dust pretty quick. That's unfortunate. He usually dies first because he is the worst geared and has really low health. And I'm just hoping that she eventually takes a turn while she has Terminate, and then, yeah, Snow Trooper finally got the shot to the head. So 52 banners is super duper ugly, and I don't like that match at all. But, you know, sometimes you just have to do things like that. When you have the Revans on defense, you have to accept the punishment for it. So we beat that squad. Now I want to take Commander Luke here against the Geonosians. I did that in my last video, and I got a lot of oohs and ahs from people, and so I decided, you know, why not try it undersized and without 3PO? Like, what could go wrong? And you know, this isn't a very strong Geonosian squad. So what we're trying to do here, first you stun the Brood Alpha. You need to, because you don't want him to dispel anything. Then Luke shifts his stance, and Chewie shoots him, puts tenacity down on him. Then you put buff immunity onto the brute as well, so that even when he counters, he isn't taunting anymore. And now we can target people like the spy, and, you know, one-shot the spy. That's great. Now we can target soldier, and you want to pick this team apart one at a time. You don't want to focus on Brood Alpha usually, especially because Brood Alpha is the only one with relics at all. Now R2 is helpful here because he can stun, he can smoke himself so that he's targeted, because he is not nearly as important as any of the other three here. And, you know, so, you know, it is what it is. He's going to die, most likely, and that's unfortunate. We don't have 3PO to help control the situation, and now I'm feeling a little frantic because my guys are taking hits, and, you know what, luckily I've killed the biggest threats here, but, you know, Geonosians are still super potent at half strength, and so, you know, it's looking okay, but finally killed the Brood Alpha. That's great. Now, I missed an opportunity to get one extra banner there. I should have shifted stances with Luke and then attacked. I didn't do that, so, you know, that would have healed him up to max protection, but it is what it is. Took that squad out, and in the back here we have a really strange Dengar squad and a Nute squad, and really the list of teams I had remaining, though, was pretty low. Like, it's going to get interesting here, guys.
It is pointless to resist, my son.
So we've got the Nute team, we've got Dengar with Malak and Relic, Bastila, and R2, such a random squad. We're going to ignore the mess with Malak here. I wasn't quite sure what to do with that, frankly. And, I have a few different options to take down this Nute team. It's not a super strong Nute team. It is one that can give me problems. There's Relic 4 Droideka on there, and Nute is really fast. Dooku is pretty fast. What I decided to do, though, there's a feat going on for getting prepared, and so I decided to put on my Boy Scout pants and be prepared here. I have Nest on offense for the first time in a very, very long time in 5v5. And, my team does have a lot of relics. I have Relic 7 on Nest, which is important. Relic 7 on Stormtrooper Han, which is less important, though there really isn't a good way for these guys to dispel anything I have. So, if I can get the taunt off with Stormtrooper Han, that's going to be helpful. So, we're taking what we can get, obviously. Dooku put up his stealth and made it so that I can only shoot Zalbar because Mission put up her stealth as well. So we're shooting Zalbar because that's what our options are. And, I'm not used to using this team. I wasn't sure if I would even win this. Just figured I'd give it a try. I figured why not? What's the point of having a really amazing defense, with all of my good teams if I can't risk failing an attack? So killed Mission there, and now I'm trying to think of what's a good way to get rid of Droideka, and the answer is we need to dispel Droideka first. So the only one that can really do that is Nest. Nest decided to kill Dooku first instead, just because Dooku is a problem. We don't want him stunning people and doing all that nonsense. Once I finally did dispel Droideka, of course, he put up his shield one more time, and I'm just kind of winging it. One thing I will note, though, look at my protection on everyone other than L3. L3's isn't that great, and she did die there. Luckily, Vader was there, and that's the first time I've ever seen his Zeta do anything. He was prepared, so it revived a fellow Scoundrel, and then instantly, right after that happened, right after he revived, he got prepared again. So that's pretty cool. And the squad is actually pretty resilient. Part of that is because I have high gear levels, and I'm fighting lower gear levels. These are all gear 12, but Droideka is Relic 4, and he does a ton of damage. He ended up killing L3, and Vader just brought him back. So really enjoying this squad. Actually, I didn't think I was going to have as much fun as I did, but surprise, 59 banners, and one shot it, got a bunch of prepared stacks counts, which I'll show you in a little bit once the video's over. And I'll show it to you now. In fact, that's when it is. So got the let the Wookiee win, because I had a Wookiee win 4 battles in a row. That's pretty obvious. And then I got 26 stacks of the putting together a crew prepared thing, so hopefully I'll be able to get that in the next fight, but who knows. Don't know. So we've got one team left. This is a really strange squad. Dengar is problematic. Really hoping that I'm going to be able to beat this, but this is kind of a trap team, in fact. So I decided to take my bounty hunters here. I do have some good relics on them, I figured this would probably do the trick.
Your friends up there on the sanctuary moon are walking into a trap.
So this team is actually really interesting. Dengar has a leadership ability that makes me do less damage on crits, 40% less damage on crits, in fact. And then we have Barriss, who when they are crit, she heals someone, and so it doesn't restore protection, but she does keep them alive. She also has a high relic level. I think it was relic 4, so she's also able to stay alive for a long time. I can't see anyone except for Malak because R2 put up smoke, which is really cool. And then Acolyte is just going to stay stealthed here and shoot me. Luckily she wasn't high relic or something like that, so she's not going to be doing a huge amount of damage, and my team is very resilient, so probably, you know, I figured worst case scenario we'll just stare at each other for a while, but hopefully I can take out a couple of these guys. You know, my first target here was R2, wanted to kill him if I could with a big hit, and I did just that with Jango, and now we need to kill Xaereth, because frankly Dengar is never coming out of stealth, most likely, and neither is Asajj, or rather Acolyte. She wishes she was Asajj. So it's either target Malak here and get feared, or target Barriss and just have all of my damage reduced first and then healed by her. And so I figured if I could get something like damage immunity on her, or rather healing immunity, that would be nice. You know, as it stands, one thing to note, I still haven't gotten the contract yet, because Acolyte's sitting there as the weakest, and I can't actually, I can't do anything to her. I only AoEs. So every time I'm getting an AoE, that counts as like 1/10 of my contract. So not getting it here. I am going to speed it up a little bit now, because really all that's happening is I'm trying to do AoEs to hurt Acolyte and Dengar, and I'm trying to knock Malak down as much as I can, and he is obviously super resilient. My opponent modded him really well for really high tenacity, which is obnoxious, and I admire it greatly. And the hope here is that you know, I can land something on him. If Dengar can roll his grenades over to Malak, get a crit on him, and then land healing immunity, or rather tenacity down, then I can land healing immunity on him, and then I can actually do some things. But Dengar can't actually crit. I need to put some kind of crit on him. Probably put a triangle with crit, because that doesn't work without it, because with a crit arrow, crit avoid arrow, Malak was just doing nothing. And so here I'm getting his health down slowly, but I'm afraid, like, every time he goes, I'm afraid that he's just going to heal himself fully. And so I actually ended up going a little bit slower, you know, making my decisions just a little bit slower, because I didn't think I could actually kill him at this point. I figured I'd need to finish him off, and I had a pretty diabolical scheme, and I really wish I could show you guys, because somehow the video cuts off. You can see the very first couple minutes of it though. So Malak, I did time out against Malak. That happens. This was a really interesting squad, but you do have to sacrifice a lot of important characters to make it. So here I wanted to take the new Finn and the new Poe. I was actually considering taking this team against Geonosians, in fact, but I'll talk about that later. Not today though. So I wanted to take these two guys, and then I'm taking Savage here, because Savage can just use his like execute ability, whatever it's called, on Malak as long as he's half health, and he is half health. So all that you're missing, see, it cuts off. I don't know why. I think I just fat fingered the button to kill it, or to turn it off, and so you guys don't get to see it, but like a couple seconds later, you know, Malak does one hit, and then Savage walks up and just cheap shots him and kills him, and that's that. So I got 39 banners there, and now all I have to do is take out this fleet, and I felt like I was doing pretty well, actually. Like, I'd cleared an entire board without the use of, you know, either of my revans, and you know, I also had my General Skywalker on the board. Like, this is a pretty stacked defense that I left, and I cleared everything. So wonderful. I do need to concentrate here on ships. One thing that I've really been focusing on, really trying to make sure I do, is with ships, I always take at least one fewer ship with me, so that I get an extra few banners at the end, and I get to work on the undersized feet. So, you know, I'm targeting Bistan. I've never watched a video on how to do this or anything, but Bistan always scares me, so I kill him first. I think that I've heard some people say that you're supposed to kill Biggs first, in fact, but maybe that's just when I'm using my own Millennium Falcon fleet with Bistan. I'm not really sure. So one way or another, you know, I gave some thought here for a while of like, should I just take Plo in and I'll just, you know, I'll be able to heal everyone and then finish these guys off. And I decided, no, I want to take the Sergeant in, even if I don't get a heal off with Plo before it happens. I want the Sergeant. I want that added protection here because, you know, Sabine comes in and she could have, if she had done her normal attack or her big hit, she could have potentially just one-shot, you know, Ahsoka, and we don't want that. We don't want her doing anything. You know, she probably doesn't have what it takes to kill my clone Sergeant in one hit, though. So now we finally do get a reinforcement. Plo is in, he heals everyone, and now it's a race. Hopefully I can kill Millennium Falcon before the Ghost comes in and destroys all of my protection that I just healed up. And of course that didn't work the way I wanted it to, and he did come in, or she came in. I don't know what you call a ship. I guess ships are female, right? I don't know. You guys can tell me in the comments if you feel like it. I may care. We'll see. So now I'm just trying to weigh my options. I'm like, can I heal from any of these? And the fact is probably not really. And I may as well just send in the Y-Wings because I like that animation, and it's fun to see Y-Wings bomb starfighters, which is nonsensical, but 63 banners, that's a great result. Got the full clear with a greatly reduced full retard defense, so hopefully my opponent would attack soon and all of my suspense would be over. I will say that 1896 is a score that I felt and still do feel really good about having earned, considering I put so many things onto defense. And here I'm trying to increase the suspense by showing you my feat page, apparently. So earned a couple more feats, that's wonderful. And now we're waiting for my opponent to attack, and they did. And if you do the math, they need to get a soft max. They need to get 60 and 60 and 66 against ships to tie against me at this point. They did make more attacks, and at this point they needed, I believe, 80 points from their final attack against Jedi Revan, so that was the end. You know, regardless of if they could beat Jedi Revan, I was going to win due to efficiency. So here are my zones one more time. Here's my defenses, like I always show. My opponent did one-shot a lot of my defenses. They did one-shot all of my squads, so kudos to them. They didn't do it very efficiently, though. You know, and that's not a slight on them. That's it's just the truth, I guess. You can see my fleet gave them a little trouble. All of my reinforcements came in, and then in the back, they tried 3 times against Jedi Revan, couldn't get through, so that was a big relief. I ended up getting a win.
Everything that has transpired has done so according to my design.
So, one last shot at the board. 1896 is a pretty decent score considering I kept a lot of the teams I'm accustomed to using for offense. I left them on defense, failed one attack, but that was okay. I was able to adapt and overcome and got the win. So first experiment with full retard defense worked. This is not probably the playstyle I'm going to go for all the time, though I will say that I am heavily considering it for my next round. I'm not sure though. You know, we'll just have to see. So the fun thing is that this is going to show up on my Grand Arena history page. So people are going to be like, what? Like, sometimes he keeps everything, sometimes he leaves everything. So hopefully that will make me less predictable. But we're at the end here, so thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to be doing a live stream. I'm not 100% that I'm using my main account to make attacks on that live stream. I might, though. So you're welcome to join me. It's pretty late. It's on Friday night at roughly midnight Eastern time. It might be a little bit later than that even. So myself and my good friend Solo Base 15 will also be there. It's going to be a good time, so come hang out with us if you can, if you want to, on a Friday night. When it's late, you'll probably be drunk. That'll be interesting. So, you know, why not? And anyways, gonna leave you now for real. So remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails. Even at full retard defense, apparently.